Hey, welcome. No crazy intro, no guest stars today, unless my neighbor shows up at my door, which would be very concerning. He's back. Earl's back. Good for him. He hasn't been as much of a nuisance, so that's a plus. I do things slightly differently today. This is a Friday. Usually I post these I do them on Saturday, I post them on Sunday. I'll post this as soon as this uploads on Friday because this is Memorial Day weekend, so I think it is good. If we were actually in school right now, I'd spend the entire class time talking about Memorial Day and its importance. So for those who I've had either in the past for regular social studies or for America or really any class, that American military means a lot to me. Memorial Day means a lot to me. Veterans Day means a lot to me. Having come from a military family, having direct family members serve in basically every single American conflict dating back to the American Revolution. My brother-in-law is in the Navy. My dad was in the Special Forces in Vietnam. He's a Green Beret. My older brother served in the Army, or the older half-brother, I should say. So, very long, military tradition. My family's Memorial Day means a lot. Veterans Day is where you honor anyone who served in the American military. Memorial Day is those who have fallen in service of our country. I think sometimes we forget about how lucky we are to live here, and I think certainly right now we forget about that quite a bit because it's a really chaotic time. Like the last 2 months have not been ideal. They've probably been two of the most chaotic months of your guys' lifetime. Certainly I would have maybe top 3 or 4 chaotic times of my lifetime. But at the end of the day, we're very fortunate to live in this country, and the freedoms we have, the opportunities we have, are because someone along the way was willing to give up their life to make the ultimate sacrifice for us. And so over this weekend, hey, it should be a really nice weekend. Cook out, spend time with your family, still practice social distancing. But remember those who have given all in service to this country. Certainly we should spend more than a day thinking about that, but for those in America at war, individuals like Mike Monsoor, individuals like Michael Murphy, Mark Lee, those individuals who made the ultimate sacrifice, those Medal of Honor winners in service to this country, take the time to remember those individuals, and the reason why on Monday people have the day off. Memorialize those individuals, honor those individuals. It is a very important thing to believe in something so much that you're willing to die for that. Not everyone has that. Not everyone has those things, and I think it's amazing. It's an awesome thing that we live in a country where we do have individuals like that. I think one of my favorite quotes of all time. I love Patton. For those who took America at war, or those who've ever talking about military stuff, I love George Patton. Patton is an interesting guy for sure. And he has 2 great quotes. One of the quotes he has is, "May God have mercy on my enemies, because I won't." That's a Patton quote. That gets you kind of right inside the mind of George S. Patton. The other quote he had, and this is my final thing before I get to some questions here with Memorial Day, was he was asked near the end of World War II how he's mentally able to handle the fact that his orders had certainly caused people to die. When you're a general, you are very aware that when you're ordering attacks, men are going to die. And how he's able to mentally handle writing those letters home to those Gold Star mothers. And his quote was kind of un-Patton-like, but I think it's the best George Patton quote. Maybe my favorite quote in history. "I don't weep that such men died. I thank God that such men lived." And I think that Patton quote really kind of typifies what Memorial Day is all about. Being very thankful that such individuals, men and women, have served this country and being willing to make the ultimate sacrifice in service to this country. So spend some time this weekend, honor those who have given all in service to this great nation. When we're in the West Point shirt, for my money, the top college in the country. But I've said that before in other things I'm looking up. The questions, I have some questions on here that actually I highlighted that I really like. Figured do it a little differently this time because it isn't the Memorial Day thing. Okay. So, what do you got here? I'm embracing the suck. That was kind of the last one. I'll take a bunch of different questions though. First thing though, if Miss Frank Coffee started a coffee shop, the best response I got for if you would go or not go, Hannah R. Probably your response. Filled frappas, refreshers, and food. ... Basically turn it into a Starbucks. So if I created a Starbucks and already coffee franchise, then you would go. I thought that was actually, I laughed at that answer. Or the other answer I laughed at, for some reason, was good old Captain Marvel herself, Sophie Sullivan, definitely, period. Nothing else, just definitely. So let's go with some on your own questions that are somewhat serious first. Dina R., who do you think was the worst Cold War president so far? So at the point of the videos and stuff, we haven't technically got to Carter yet, but it'd be LBJ. I don't think it's close right now. I think it's LBJ. It'll eventually be Carter, but right now it's President Lyndon Baines Johnson. Not a great person. The more you read about him, not a great person. So great question. Well, I'm going to save that one for next to last. Next to last. Okay. Let's see here. Abby R. If the Cold War was still going on to this day, why don't we ever talk about it? I think Cold War history is kind of weird because it reveals some truths that some individuals aren't comfortable talking about, and hence why the Cold War kind of gets glossed over, even though it's arguably the most important. It is the most important in the last 50 years of world history because it completely changes everything. Today, I don't think politicians, media, it's everyone, and this is both sides of the political aisle. No one wants to say that we're in a quote-unquote another Cold War with China, but that's kind of been the way it's been for about the past 10, 15 years. We certainly have a rivalry with them. There you go. Would the Vietnam War be different if we had a better military? Ty H. The military really wasn't the problem. The problem was politicians. I have the book over there. I'm rereading it for this. I'm rereading it. This will be the second time I read it. Dereliction of Duty. If you care about the Vietnam War, if you're interested in the Vietnam War, is the single best book written on the Vietnam War. The political decisions made during the Vietnam War, it's baffling. It's absolutely baffling. The military, actually, military generals knew this was a failed plan and stuff. It just, military is below, they have to listen to what the politicians say, and that's kind of what happened. I got switched for a few people. But Captain America Ryan B., you're up right now. Who is the worst president of the Cold War? That's Jimmy Carter. LBJ's really close, though. Take your pick, but I would go with Carter. My selection. Noah G., what was the worst restriction in your opinion of the Vietnam War? I would say the Air Force having to wait to be shot at before they could shoot back. That's one of the reasons why per soldier, the per capita number, is college graduates were the highest number of casualties because those were the Air Force pilots and they suffered the worst casualties during the war. Lily K., how did President Johnson ruin the Vietnam War? He didn't care about winning. He played politics with the war and he wanted to be in Vietnam to not lose it, but he didn't want to actually commit to winning it because he thought that it would hurt him in the 1964 presidential election. Instead, he figured out a way to basically not only not win the war, but ruin his own political career in the process. Sophie. Oh, it's a long question, so I gotta double click. Okay. The space race is almost completely in line with the Vietnam War, 100% correct. How did the victories of the space race boost American morale? Would we have been able to win the Vietnam War if we had taken money from space race and put it into military? The issue wasn't so much military spending, it was very much politicians just didn't let the military win. They're fighting the war to not win. They're just basically fighting to be there. So certainly more money would have helped, but McNamara and Johnson are both pretty committed to cutting military spending anyway, and so I don't think there was going to be the political initiative to actually use that money for military. I think that money would have gone into social programs and things like that. Space race was certainly a boost for U.S. morale. It's the lone bright spot from 1964 to maybe 1975, in the Cold War for the United States. Space race, I think we undersell how important the space race is, just because it gives enough hope to the American public that helps us just kind of keep fighting. Space race, again, I wish this was an actual regular class. When I had this class planned for face-to-face instruction. I had an entire like week just on the space race, which I think you guys would really enjoy. But that's one of those things where please research, look up, like in your free time. Oh, I'm running out of time here. Zach Shearer, why was the unemployment so bad in America in the 1970s? Political decisions. Okay, I'm gonna go really quick here. What is your favorite place to get coffee? I don't go places to get coffee. I don't give into that corporate Starbucks stuff. Give me some Black Rifle coffee I can make in my house and I can drink out of my own don't tread on me glass. Dina, great question. Remember, coffee's best if it's hot, not cold. Nate P, why the Red Sox? I'm a Red Sox fan. There you go. Oliver G, why did you shave? Had to grow up. Hayden A, do you have a favorite movie? I do. You're probably curious what it is. Nate C, what's your favorite TV series? The Office, even though really like The Punisher. Abby R, have you cried during a movie? What movie? No. No, wait. Maybe I cried at the end of Rambo because it was so great that I was disappointed it was over. Okay. Ryan B, Captain America, what's the second best country in the world? No one. Ashton G, what would you call your coffee shop? Mr. Frank's Family Fun Coffee Time Emporium or the Cold War Cafe. It's one of those two. Is this our last video? It is not. There's two more. I'm sorry. So yes. Captain Marvel, why is it important to win the space race? Morale, for sure morale. Today, people make fun of President Trump for the Space Force thing. It's not crazy. It's not crazy because the Russians and the Chinese are definitely trying to militarize space. And so the country that gets to the space first, military-wise, is going to have a huge strategic advantage. So it's not crazy. MW, why does Drew get to play softball this summer and I can't play soccer? Because life isn't fair and Drew gets whatever she wants, apparently. So, there you go. Hudson F. What superpower would you pick if you got one? The Wolverine power. Or the power to make videos shorter and not ramble on. Nick G. If your business is booming, would you put a coffee shop around the country or would you only have one? Well, hardcore, Nick. I would at least start a second coffee shop and see if I could franchise this thing, make a couple like million, possibly $1 billion. Then buy a house in the middle of nowhere in up north Wisconsin and basically live off the land by myself with no one, never having to talk to another human being again. That's the American dream right there. Drew H. Who's funnier, Drew or Emma? Based upon their previous question, I'm going to go Emma. Emma W. Maybe. I don't know. What's your favorite color? Blue. It's a calming color. Estrella V. Like there's another Estrella in the school. What's your favorite number? 2. That's it. Okay. I only went like 3 minutes over. That's not bad. So, you guys have a great weekend. Bleh. Great job with the questions. I'll start working on my coffee shop now. Again, enjoy your Memorial Day. Honor those who have served. Spend some time remembering those who have served. Having come from a family of veterans and them knowing individuals who've lost their lives in combat and stuff like that. Like, it's a time for celebrating, time with your family, but also a time of remembrance. So, great weekend. Believe in yourself. Believe in the country. Believe in the military. Have a lot of coffee. Have a couple brats, a couple burgers, maybe a cheeseburger, maybe a couple of cheeseburgers. It's the weekend. I will talk to you next week. Thank you. Camera's there.